Dadaine Praladadaine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Shilatankanakalaye Ito Narsingho Parato Narsingho Ito Narsingho Parato Narsingho Yato Yato Yamitato Narsingho Yato Yato Yamitato Narsingho Pahe Narsingho Hridaye Narsingho Pahe Narsingho Hridaye Narsingho Narasinghamadhim Sharanam Prapade Narasinghamadhim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsingadev Jaya Narsingadev Jaya Narsingadev Jaya Narsingadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj श्री नरसिंहदेव भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंद कृष्ण
There must have taken it.
Yeah, the ladies are using the actual temple harmonium. Yeah, just you can.
You can't tell us?
Huh? Oh no, I think the other small one, it doesn't have a handle. The other small one I could use.
I can play cartels.
Okay.
You want to play?
But let me see.
I'm actually satisfied.
Oh wow. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vana Chari. Yamuna Tira Vana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchaka Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasali Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, sir. Thank you to the devotees for giving me a chance to share something small on the Bhagavad Gita. Today we are going through chapter 4 entitled Transcendental Knowledge, and the text is text 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text number 2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalene hamahata yogonashta parantapa. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalene hamahata yogonashta parantapa. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalene hamahata yogonashta parantapa. Please. Recite. Okay, word for word. Evam, thus. Parampara, by disciplic succession. Praptam, received. Imam, this science. Raja Rishayaha, the saintly kings. Viduhu, understood. Saha, that knowledge. Kalena, in the course of time. Iha, in this world. Mahata, great. Yogaha, the science of one's relationship with the Supreme. Nashta, scattered. Parantapa, O Arjuna, subduer of the enemies. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Purport. It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demoniac persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord Himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore He declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demoniac because demons do not believe in God but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need for an edition of the Gita in English as it's received by the Parampara disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai. So, thank you so much for those who have attended the class, Prabhu, and those who are watching online, as well as the pujaris who are rendering service for their lordships. It's amazing, the pujaris who are rendering service for their lordships, if they end up hearing the teachings or whatever is coming out of the Bhagavad Gita, it affirms to them that the service that they're doing is actually bona fide, is actually worth doing, and is important. Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that the teachings, this supreme science of the Bhagavad Gita, is the same supreme science that Krishna spoke himself at the very beginning. It says that Imam Raja Shayo Viduhu, this knowledge was for the saintly kings, and they understood the teachings of the supreme science in that fashion, and so they kept on carrying on instilling the principles of the Gita in society so that society can live understanding Krishna's supremacy, their subordination towards Krishna, and thus living a successful life in devotional service. But over time, in this material world, what happens? If people are not comfortable with a standard, they set up their own standards, most probably lower, so that they can feel some form of achievement and success for themselves. And so Prabhupada is also speaking about the different translations of the Bhagavad Gita that have been put out and spread to the mass populations, affirming different principles that are definitely not in alignment with the teachings that Krishna himself is speaking to Arjuna. Some Bhagavad Gitas you can read and they're telling you that you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some Bhagavad Gitas you read and it's saying actually you're Krishna. And this version of Krishna here is reminding you of who you really are. So thousands of different transliterations or translations of the Bhagavad Gita are there. But the unfortunate thing is that not all these thousands of different versions of Bhagavad Gita do not conclude to you the ultimate goal of life, to surrender unto Krishna. They don't conclude to you that sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. That if you give up your varieties of religions and of knowledge, that Krishna himself will get rid of your sinful reactions, and you can, be secured a chance to go back to your original constitutional position. This must be the most unfortunate circumstance. Krishna talks about the Maya Pahrita Jnana, the personalities who have Gyan, they have knowledge, the Veda Vada Vratas. They have knowledge of the Vedic scriptures. They've read the Gita. But because Maya Pahrita Jnana, their knowledge has been stolen by Maya, they can conclude the wrong conclusions, even though they're reading the same words spoken by Krishna. And so we have to be careful that the knowledge that we're working with, the knowledge that we're hearing, the knowledge that we're exchanging with others is actually in alignment to the teachings and the principles that Krishna himself wanted us to have. And not that it's our own concocted ideas or ideas that are coming from a source that is not bona fide. Prabhupada was asked, what's our wealth in Krishna consciousness? And he said, our wealth actually is a parampara. These teachings are unchanged in our disciplic succession. They all lead us towards a subordination of Krishna, of us to Krishna, and rendering devotional service as a means of purification and achieving the perfection of life. These teachings remind us the 5 important things: who we are as the jiva, who the Supreme Lord is, how we're entrapped in the material nature, the concepts of karma, and how we can be liberated. The Bhagavad Gita in this disciplic succession explains these things. So you're not just getting a philosophy, but you're getting a practical system that you can be able to utilize in your life so that you can reach the perfection. Krishna is not just asking you to read and hear these words, but from hearing these words, it instills some form of action that needs to be performed so that these words can become alive in your life. It said that Arjuna is representing us who are here in the material world, asking questions and receiving answers that are beneficial for us in our own life. And so we read the words of Krishna from the Gita, and then that inspires us to try to manipulate our lives so that we can abide to these principles that Krishna is instructing here. Prabhupada says in the purport, 5,000 years ago it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. Krishna's causeless mercy allowed him to re-speak the Bhagavad Gita for our benefit. He had spoken the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, and he had kept on speaking about the Bhagavad Gita in previous times. But because he saw that this disciplic succession would be lost in this age of Kali, where people's minds, are unsteady, their memory is, very, very weak, they can't be able to withhold serious principles. They need to churn and discuss the knowledge with others in order for them to sustain it for themselves. He had to speak the Bhagavad Gita again so that we can actually be benefited. And then thanks to the pure devotees of our disciplic succession, from the Goswamis all the way down, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, they kept on sustaining this practice in this succession in a nice, strong way so that we can have the benefit. It's interesting. It said that these were for, Raja Rishis, and now we are having access to this philosophy. And that's the fortune and our good fortune and the mercy of His divine grace that we get the chance to understand the teachings of the Gita clearly. What Prabhupada actually does in the Bhagavad Gita is spectacular. He gives you the Sanskrit itself, gives you a transliteration, gives you word for word, gives you a translation, gives you tika, so that you can understand these verses coherently. He wasn't just doing this from his own. He also went through all the other important literatures, looked at all the versions of the Sampradayas, and gave us the knowledge that's beneficial for us to surrender unto Krishna. He did not just do that for the Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses. He also did it for the Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. Also did it for the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 11,000 verses. Prabhupada slaved himself so that we can get the knowledge of the Raja Rishis. To the point where the knowledge of the Raja Rishis is accessible to us, people of the West. You know? We were reading one purport, I think it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it was actually speaking on, to some extent, Prabhupada he wasn't speaking on himself, but he was speaking on how this knowledge was meant to come to the West. And he was saying, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are like the sun and the moon. And just like the sun and the moon rise from the east and settle in the west, their teachings will also settle in the west eventually. And that was his service. He brought the Srimad Bhagavatam, brought the teachings of Krishna from the east to the west so that all of us can be able to access it and can be able to learn something that can actually benefit our lives. The rest of the knowledge that's being spread out even from the east was always pertaining to sense gratification. Individuals would use aspects of the Vedas for their own benefit. Then here comes Srila Prabhupada. He had 40 rupees in his pocket. He went all the way to the west, suffered heart attacks and strokes, lived with drug addicts and people literally of a mlecha yavana mentality who are eating meat and engaging in illicit activities. And he slaved himself and lived with those people, being a man of strong principle, so that we can get to access this knowledge. And believe you not, the 40 rupees that he had when he was going to the West, he still kept it. And he only ended up using it to pay for something for the other devotees when they went back to India. It's amazing. Nothing for himself, but everything for everyone else. And so when we look at a verse like this and we see how valuable it is that we're part of a strong disciplic succession, part of a powerful parampara that's giving us the benefits of spiritual life directly to us, then it becomes our responsibility, as we were listening to class today with Mother was explaining so nicely, it becomes our responsibility to study these scriptures. Prabhupada was saying not just going to distribute them to get some money, but actually reading these books, understanding this philosophy. If someone opens and says, okay, can you explain to me this verse? You should be able to explain to them the verse. We were speaking about Sankirtan a while ago with a few devotees. How we would go out on books, and because you're meeting all these people who don't know the philosophy, you could say anything and they'll believe you. So you'd go, Evam parampara praptam, you're a special person. Namam Vishnu Padaya, you can travel anywhere in this world. And on Sankirtan at times, out of, you have to share something and you could cook. But Prabhupada is encouraging us to know these books and also simultaneously distribute them. I remember asking His Holiness Devamrita Swami, how can we dive deeper into the scriptures? I struggle to read. And then he said, by sharing them. Because if you're trying to your level best to share the limited knowledge that you might have of the Gita, Krishna will empower you to have more knowledge so that you're actually able to share something substantial. So if you want to learn the Gita much deeper, share it with others. Your small realizations can transform somebody else's life. When we think, oh, we're not worth doing anything, then if everyone has that mentality, who will do something? In our humility, devotees, they say, oh, I'm not qualified to do anything. There are other people who are much more qualified than me. But we can see from the exceptional personalities in our mission, in our practice, they took personal responsibility to study, to dive deep into their bhajan. And whatever little they knew, they shared it and distributed it wide across many people. One personality who I look up to very much, he was saying, the only difference between myself and others is that the little I know, I try my best to share it. And others might have so much knowledge, but just because they're wallowing in that mood of, oh, I'm not qualified, then they limit themselves from sharing the glories of Krishna to others. And that's why if I'm given this service to sit here and speak, it's not because I'm qualified to speak. I don't have anything, worth sharing that's substantial. My realization is almost nil. I just know that chanting Hare Krishna is fun, dancing and feasting and having a good time with the devotees is amazing. And that's why I'm here. But we're encouraged to go deeper, and whatever little we have, we share it with others. And then Krishna will empower us to have more knowledge, to have more gyan, to be able to remember these things. Krishna himself says that the cause of remembrance and forgetfulness, if we are surrendering to him to try to share the limited that we have, then he will make us remember. But if we hold ourselves back, then, the knowledge has no significant change in our lives. So we're encouraged when we see this, that we're in a glorious parampara, and it's our responsibility to carry on with the principles of this parampara and spread these teachings nicely so that other people can benefit from it also. It's said, Prabhupada has left us a massive inheritance, He's left us so many temples, 108 tirthas that he walked upon, and he, never claimed any of that to be his. He left it for us. He left for us the GBC, a structure that people can work together. He left for us the BBT, a structure that can ensure that literatures are still being spread out even though anything else is broken. He's left us so much wealth. So even though we might be unqualified to be able to sustain what he's done, what can we do within ourselves to try? And as Bhaktivedanta Maharaj mentions, when you start to do things beyond your capacity, but you're doing it to the best of your capabilities, that's where empowerment comes. Because you understand you're not qualified to do any of these things, And I think the more we practice Krishna consciousness, we identify our insignificance. I used to think, oh wow, our kirtan would not be amazing if I'm not there. But at times I'd be standing by the window and seeing a massive ecstatic kirtan. Now, who am I? Maya has carried us out in such a state based on our desires to think that we are controllers, we are big people, we are essential. But actually, the more we practice, we realize we're actually insignificant. I remember one devotee saying to me, he chastised me when I was not able to make it for a service before I joined the temple. And he said, who do you think you are? Somebody else will do the service and I can guarantee you they'll do it better than you. Because you have the false ego, you're thinking that we need to depend on you. So give up this false ego and just give your heart to the practice. And that's something that I still have. I remember till today I have to do. Give up this false ego, this thinking that I'm something, that I am amazing, that, at times Krishna gives us so much mercy, the devotees give us so much mercy, and then we go to bed and we think, I'm great. But we should always remind ourselves that we're actually a product of this parampara. We're a product of these seniors. Everything we know and we understand in this philosophy is because of the mercy of these people to share it with us, patiently with us, answering our questions, our doubts. We all have individuals in our Krishna consciousness who we go to when we're struggling. It's thanks to them that we get a clearer vision. If it was up to ourselves, we would not be able to do anything. They're part of this parampara, and this parampara is glorious. And if we take to following this practice, we become part of this parampara and spread out these teachings to everyone else so they can also benefit in the same fashion. When Radhanath Maharaj was giving an initiation, he mentions that all of you are bhoga that I'm giving to Prabhupada. You become prasadam from Prabhupada, then you distribute the mercy to everyone. So just like that, we're bhoga, which is being prepared by Srila Prabhupada. And so we have to ensure that we're cooked and, perfected in the right way, like a dish. Like a sabji, you make sure the chons is there, you make sure the salt is there, everything, the spices, everything is there. And similarly, also in our life, we need to understand the principles and the teachings, churn them throughout ourselves. Always see that every day is a chance to join the Krishna consciousness movement. And you're trying to add more and more into your life so that you can dive deeper in serving Krishna. It's not just about being perfect. Perfection for us is not possible. We're very flawed as long as we're in a human body. But our attempt in being perfect is what makes us perfect. If we endeavor in trying to be purified, growing even with our anarthas and asking for the Lord to please bestow His mercy upon us, and if we're sincere, then He promises Himself that if we surrender unto Him, He'll take care of us. So we can do that. Then if He doesn't, we go to Him and say, Radha Gokulananda, you told me to do this, I am doing, and I'm not getting a result. Deal it. Isn't it? We're very fortunate. You see a verse like this and you see that we've gotten information and knowledge that's been carried out from the beginning. Vivaswan, the knowledge Vivaswan, the Son God got, we are getting. in the current world, people are, they become ecstatic and enthusiastic about mundane knowledge that they are gathered from some speculators for 2-3 decades. It's like when, what's his personality? Darwin's theory has become so popular worldwide. Everyone respects Darwin's theory when he himself says that his theory is a speculation. And people will carry that speculation and hold it as their faith. How unfortunate this world is becoming. But we're getting access to the knowledge directly from Krishna. And so we should be similarly as enthusiastic to spread these teachings, if not better than how these Darwinists and these other impersonalists are spreading their philosophies. Martin Luther King said, for you to beat the enemy, you need to have the same order, same attention, same power, and same abilities, if not better, so that you can combat them. Otherwise, you'll always lose. And the reality is there are many people who need Krishna consciousness. Mahaprabhu said, in every town and village, the holy names of Krishna should be chanted. Mahaprabhu's words are not a joke. That means in every town and village in this world, there are devotees. And so somehow or other, we need to remind them of their lives and get them to join this parampara and go back to serving Krishna like they should. Hare Krishna. Then if you have any questions, comments, or anything, corrections. Yes, exactly. No, definitely. And it's in our humility that we're attempting, isn't it? If we think that, I'm so humble, I can't do anything, then who's going to do it? People are desperate, so weak, and, I don't know much, but the little that I know, I should try to share it and encourage others to positively take to the practice. And that's our prime responsibility. And, real humility is in seeing that we're not qualified, but we're trying our best, even without disqualification. Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mom. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Bol. Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai.
Has a different way of sincerity. Each people has a different way of sincerity. But if you haven't met that sincerity, they judge you or they say you're not right in society. How do you deal with that situation? Because Krishna looks at the individual sincerity. Like your sincerity might be put a carpet there, for example. That is your sincerity you're doing.
When we talk about sincerity, we're talking about that I want to actually get devoted and give my life to Krishna. Not that I want something for myself, something for others. So practical, that doesn't matter. These are small things. Sincerity is in my heart. Do I truly want nothing but Krishna?
But I agree with that. But that's the general. Like I want to serve Krishna. But each individual has a different sincerity. Like my sincerity is to do my service properly, and that.
Why are you doing service?
Because I want to serve Krishna.
That's the sincerity. You want to serve Krishna. It all boils down to Krishna. Other things, it doesn't matter. It's because in your heart you want to serve Krishna. So want to give your life to Krishna. You can't compare, everyone is different. So it's not like one person's level of sincerity. How can you measure? How do you know how sincere I am?
Exactly.
Can you tell them what percentage?
No, I don't know because
You can't know, and I can't know you, you can't know anyone. So you never compare. You don't try to know this.
Look, I have noticed this, like generally, from last few days or few weeks. The sincerity you have or I have is different. End of the day, it's the same
How do you
sincerity.
know? How do you know?
Because the way we act, the way we
act differently. The way your body is different from mine. So it doesn't, you can't measure the sincerity, you can't measure my sincerity.
I understand that part, but I'm not judging on the sincerity, how you act. I'm judging on the person who are looking, let's say you're looking at me, for example. You're not judging as a character, my sincerity is different. But and your point of view, that character sincerity is not matching you, in the sense that this you think is not sincerity. But Krishna...
Why would I judge? You see, what's the point? That's what I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You know, why would I start judging your sincerity? I can't tell what your sincerity is. I don't know what you've given up to serve Krishna. I don't know what's in your heart. Only you know. So a person, if they're judging you based on that, that's their problem. Leave them alone, carry on. You develop your sincerity for Krishna. Don't compare.
Like let's say if you want to... yes, the sincerity, for my case, sloka is difficult for me. If I sincerely try to learn slokas, is it still a part of sincerity or is it still a hard work?
You have to be both. If you're sincere, it doesn't mean you don't work hard. You'll work hard. So you have to work hard also. So if you need more time to learn your shlokas, you take more time to learn your shlokas. Simple.
How do you differentiate between sincerity and humility? Because whereas when like me as me, sometimes I just be sincere, say I don't know, or can you tell me what to do? Sincerely asking. At the same time, humility is there as well. So how you, as a person, like to give the back answer, how do you not judge? Like how do you differentiate between humility and sincerity? Because sincerity comes...
What does differentiating do for you? So you know the difference or not?
So you can, like if it's humility, you can talk at the same time. Like we can, like for me, I need
if
to...
If a person is humble or sincere, then they'll be humble. They're connected.
Yeah.
Humble, I understand I'm nothing. Yeah. Sincere, I understand I'm nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just...
Thank you.